Hey, what's going on, everybody? Bob here with Buttered Popcorn Reviews. And if you've ever been to our website, butteredpopcorn.com, we do a lot of reviews of course, newer movies, new release Blu-rays, new release 4Ks, stuff like that. But not always. Sometimes I will go back and do, a new to me review. And that's what I want to do today. Of course, everyone who is a big physical media collector probably knows that right now Criterion is doing their 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble. So there's tons of people picking up tons of great stuff. I actually went in myself to pick up a copy of Funny Games, which they were out of, but I ended up picking a few other titles. And the one that I want to talk about today is David Cronenberg's Videodrome. This is a new-to-me release. This actually was released by Criterion almost 10 years ago. Well, first pressing 2010, so came out quite a while ago. But not only was this a new-to-me release as far as picking this up, but I had never seen this movie at all before. I worked in a video store probably in around 2001, 2002 or so, and I would see the cover of Videodrome on VHS, and I would walk by it all the time, and I'd say, maybe. And I guess I just thought it was more of a sci-fi movie. And there's some sci-fi movies that I love, but I never really gave this movie a chance. I really just didn't know what it was. I am a fan of Cronenberg's other films. Scanners is absolutely great. Of course, The Fly. A History of Violence, which is a little different than some of the other ones, is one of my all-time favorite movies. I just think that movie is absolutely amazing. So it's kind of even shocking a little bit to myself that I had never watched Videodrome. So I picked this up yesterday, and I brought, I read the description on the back, and I'm going to read it to you. It just says, when Max Wren goes looking for edgy new shows for his sleazy cable TV station, he stumbles across the pirate broadcast of a hyper-violent torture show called Videodrome. His attempts to unearth the program's origins send him on a hallucinatory journey into a shadow world of right-wing conspiracies, sadomasochistic sex games, and bodily transformation. The movie stars James Woods and Debbie Harry, the lead singer of Blondie. And it says that Videodrome is one of the most original and provocative works from writer-director David Cronenberg and features groundbreaking makeup effects by Academy Award winner Rick Baker. So this 100% sold me. I don't know, honestly, I can't remember if that was the same description that was on the VHS that I see. I don't know if I maybe even never read it. Maybe I just looked at the cover and totally judged this movie and thought it was something completely different than it is. But it is not. This movie is just an absolute masterpiece of body horror film. Just an unbelievable, just across the board. This movie is just such a twisted kind of like just a mind fuck of epic proportions. So basically, what it is James Woods runs a UHF TV station. If you aren't familiar with that, it was kind of, there was a lot of UHF stations back. Of course, this movie is set in 1983, so it's that same time period, and you could almost broadcast whatever you want, I guess. At least that's what we're led to believe from this. So James Woods runs a UHF station where he broadcasts underground films, basically, or underground TV shows, or ultra-violent, sexualized stuff. And that's what they show. So one of his buddies shows him this footage that he says is being captured off of a live stream somewhere, that they're a bootleg pirate stream, and it's called Videodrome. And James Woods becomes absolutely obsessed with it. Between him and then his now, he meets Debbie Harry on, they're actually doing a panel TV show about sexualized TV and violence and things like that. And then he literally on air asks her out, and then they start going out. And she too is she's very masochistic. She's talking about, she wants him to cut her, and other people have cut her, showing her like her neck, and people have cut, like, that's just what she's into. And then in one scene, she like presses a lit cigarette out, on her chest, and so she's really into the idea of watching Videodrome. So they actually watch this you know, and the Videodrome itself is very much like, if you've ever seen, I guess if you've ever seen what, you know, maybe an August Underground has a little bit of a plot, but what I'm gathering from it is watching Videodrome would be kind of like watching American Guinea Pig. Very, you know, very little plot, just totally, or the original Guinea Pig films for that matter, just, you know, just torture, murder, kill. It's a snuff film. In the case, of course, in real life, those simulated snuff films. In here, what we're seeing is an actual snuff film. The plot, it goes much deeper than that. The whole thing with this movie is that, you know, in James Woods' character, in trying to figure out what exactly is going on with the Videodrome and the feed and where it's coming from and who's involved, he starts realizing that it's a little bit. You start realizing it's a little bit more than that, and it's a little bit more of a psychosis. And like I said, this movie is just a super total mental. It's a mind fuck. It really is. So I don't want to go too much more into that. I mean, I know that this movie is 36 years old this year, 37 years old this year. 83. I'm 36, so it's 36 years old this year. So I'm sure plenty of people have seen it, but in case you haven't, I don't want to go too much more into really what it's about. I will say that the effects by Rick Baker are just phenomenal. Obviously, it's movies made in 1983, so it's all practical effects. I am a huge fan, as I think are most horror movie fans, of practical effects and using them as much as possible whenever possible. So we are treated to some just seriously just sick special effects, you know, where James Woods, you know, at one point he's you know, he started to scratch himself, and then he realized, you know, his whole stomach is opening up, and he actually is reaching inside of himself at one point, and he puts a gun inside of himself, and he pulls his hand out, and and he's fine and everything. It's really very well done. It is just really, it's really great. One of the things that I read, I like to kind of go through IMDb trivia while I'm watching movies sometimes, especially if I've never seen it before, and I like to see new things. And that's actually one of the great things about Criterion, is the booklets that come with it, but I'll get to that in a second. So I was reading, one of the trivia facts was that the reason that they use, so this movie takes place, is set in 1983. The format wars between VHS and Betamax, and if you actually look at the, so Criterion does great hard sleeves, but the case itself is a mock of a Betamax tape. And I thought it was a funny kind of tidbit that the reason that they went with Betamax and not VHS was just because there's a couple of scenes where Betamax tape is shoved into somebody, like right into James Woods, like I was saying, his stomach, and a VHS tape wouldn't fit. It was just not big enough or whatever, so they went with Betamax, which I thought was kind of funny. Anyway, so what I was saying before about Criterion, actually coming back to this, aside from you know, they do just phenomenal packaging. If you're not familiar with Criterion, which I'd be surprised at this point if you at least haven't heard of what they do, but Criterion's been around for a very long time. They started out, you know, they did laser discs, and they've done DVDs, and now they're getting into Blu-rays. They've been doing Blu-rays for years, but you know, they've gone through the progression, and the thing with Criterion is that they're very much a collector, film buff company. That's what they do. They spend tons of time, tons of money restoring films, and then not only that, but the supplemental features that come with these movies, all of them are just out of this world. I mean, I'm not going to read these all off to you, but you can see. So this paragraph right here is the description of the movie. This is all the features that are on this disc. It's just crazy. You know, plus a booklet featuring essays written by multiple people involved with the film, which is just fantastic. And that's actually, here's the actual disc itself. And inside this booklet it's a full novel. It's huge. It's, you know, it's like 30 some odd pages. Yeah, it is 35 pages. But one of the things that really gets me about Criterion in general is, like I said, the amount of time that they really put into restoring some of these older films. This and in this book specifically, it actually talks about all of the. It's very detailed. They are a film buff company made with a lot of love and a lot of technical information that a lot of people probably don't care about at all. They just pick this up and they say, hey, oh my God, this movie's awesome. I want to own this on the best quality. Well, you're never going to get a better quality release than what Criterion does when it comes to a lot of these films. So if you can look at even right here, this is all specific to about the transfer of the movie. And what I mean by that is how they took it, the original aspect ratios. It explains, just in case you don't know, that the black bars on the top and bottom may be normal. Talks specifically about who worked on what programs they used, what they did, what they removed, the audio quality, everything. They just do an absolutely phenomenal job of putting out every release that I've ever bought from Criterion is just top notch. It really is. So with that said, Videodrome, again, I absolutely love this movie. It's certainly, it probably is going to be, it really is in kind of my top 10 of horror movies of all time, and I'm really disappointed in myself that this movie that's 30